There are times when God is calling you into a different season, into a different place that you've never been to before. You know, the Lord likes to take us to places that we've never been to before. He's always doing a new thing in us. And for me, in my life, every time I think, okay, I'm settled, I think this is good, God, let's stay here for a little bit. It switches and I'm in a different season and God moves me and shifts me. And today I just want to talk about the importance of flowing with God and not being rigid, even when it comes to your finances. You know, I teach women how to be good stewards, how to become the woman that keeps and grows what God gives them, right? But there are times, even in that walk of being a good steward, that you have to flow with God when it comes to spending money. Now, I'm not talking about being reckless. I'm going to tell you a story about something that happened to me just 2 weeks ago that really explains this concept of flowing with God, even in your finances, right? There's a lady I follow on social media. She's anointed and called by God to do what she does. And so one day I saw her post about a conference that she was having. Okay. And right away I felt Holy Spirit telling me to go to that conference. Okay. So I looked it up. I'm like, where is it? Okay. So it's something that I have to fly to. I had to book a flight and I'm like, oh my goodness, this is going to be an inconvenience because I had so much going on, right? I have so much going on, and taking out a Friday, a Saturday and a Sunday to be at another conference, or so I thought, would be, you know, an inconvenience for me. Not to mention it was going to be a financial investment. So I had some money that I had set aside just for personal development. And so I was going to use that money to go to the conference. So I went to look at the ticket prices. It wasn't that expensive of an investment, but it was an investment, right? And so I looked at the ticket prices and then I quickly created a budget, because whenever I travel, whenever I do something, I plan out how much, you know, to the $0, right? I plan out how much I'm going to spend. And so I sat down, looked up tickets, figured out how much it was going to cost. This was before I bought the ticket. Looked at flight tickets to see how much it was going to cost to fly there from Texas. I looked at the hotel and calculated that, you know, I think I was going to spend 2 nights there, 2 nights at this hotel, very nice hotel. And I calculated my meals and then, you know, like a little bit, $100 for like incidentals, you know, snacks at the airport and things like that. And when I did that and I added the price of the conference ticket, it was slightly over what I had planned or budgeted for my personal development in this season. And so I was like, I'm just not going to go, right? I'm just going to save the money, put it towards something else. And then the lady that was hosting the conference was following up on people that had clicked the link to buy but didn't buy, right? Who didn't complete the sale, which is a good thing. Actually, I learned something from her business-wise, is to follow up on people, right, that click your links. And so she followed up with me and she was like, I saw you click the link. What's stopping you from being in the room? And so I was like, well, the budget, you know, I have a budget and I really wanted to be a good steward and stick to my budget. Okay. And so she came back and said, where are you flying in from? I said, I'm flying in from Texas. And she was like, okay, I don't usually do discounts, but she had a discount code for people that she had mentored in the past. And so she gave that to me and she said, I don't know if this will help you. And so I applied it and it took off $100 from the conference ticket. Well, I was like, okay, that brings me closer, you know, in line with my budget. So I'm like, good, I'm going to go. So I thanked her and I bought the ticket right away. Now, the next week, I think it was the week before the actual conference, there was a prayer call that she had for everybody that was going to attend. And so I logged onto the prayer call. It was a virtual call. I logged onto the prayer call and immediately as we started to pray, I heard God tell me, you need to give her back that $100. The $100 discount, you need to give it back. And I was like, what? You know, I was trying to fit into my budget and, you know, but I know when I hear God. And so after the call, I messaged her and I said, you know, after the call, I just felt that I need to return the $100 discount. Do you have a link or some kind of way that I can send the money to you? So she sent me a link and I sent the $100 back. This is what it taught me. One, it's good to be a good steward. This is what we're striving for, to steward well the resources that God has given us, right? But it should not come in the way of obedience to God. Okay. Now, I'm not talking about giving under compulsion where people are forcing you to give and you feel compelled to give, you feel forced to give. That's not it. God does not like that. He loves a cheerful giver. But in this case, God knew that I did have the $100, the extra $100. I could have pulled it from another bucket and applied it to this budget. I could have. And I was being rigid in that, right? But in my rigidity, I was taking away $100 from a kingdom entrepreneur that was hosting this conference. Let me tell you about that conference. My goodness, baby. That conference was fire. I know maybe you're waiting for me to tell you I got the $100 back some kind of way, or I got it tenfold. What I got from that conference was more than my money back. What I got from that conference was a breakthrough in my mind, the way I think, the way I see certain things. And I could hear God clearly in that room. The room was filled with prayer. It was filled with business strategy. I made connections that I would never have made in the past, right? On my own. But it was all because I was obedient to what God was telling me to do. And so I think today I just wanted to share with you that there are times when you are being a good steward, God will call you to do something that maybe you don't feel like you want to do, right? I'm going to even take that back. Most of the time, probably if we're being honest, all the time. When God calls us to do something, it's outside of our realm of thought. It's outside of our realm of comfort because he's always growing. He's always stretching us, right? 1, 2, when you have the chance to bless someone who is a Christian, running a business, there's nothing better than pouring back into another Christian entrepreneur, right? I should have even paid more because the cost of that conference versus the teachings that we received and even just the atmosphere in the room priceless. Okay. I know people in the room were even saying she should have charged more for this conference. And I felt convicted. I agreed. I said, yes, she should have charged more for the conference because I've been to conferences that were 3-4 times the cost of this conference. And I did not get that level of mental breakthrough. I did not get that level of just strategy from being in that room. She's a very obedient kingdom entrepreneur, a kingdom business owner. And so she listened to the Holy Spirit the entire conference. I've never been to a conference like that where she just let it was a business conference, but she just let Holy Spirit flow, right? And so it was flowing. Right? It was a day and a half. It was like a Friday night and a Saturday all day. But what I got, I will feast on and feed on for years to come. And so I come on here just to tell you there are times that God just wants to shift your mindset, right? Maybe that $100 for me, that discount was, and for me, getting that discount and applying it might have been some part of scarcity mindset that was still sticking to me, and God wanted to break that off of me. Sometimes I don't completely understand what God is doing with me until a little bit later. But whatever the case is, if God is calling you to do something, trust that he will provide the resources for you to do that thing. Right? You're not going to have to do stuff in your own power. You're not going to have to wear yourself down to do what he's telling you to do, but you are going to have to be obedient and you have to trust that what he's telling you to do is worth it. Okay. And so I'm on this 5-day challenge. This is day 1 of just talking about mindset and what it is to have a stewardship mindset, how you can shift from thinking the way the world thinks to thinking the way the Bible tells you to think when it comes to your finances, when it comes to your spending, when it comes to your giving. And so this is day 1. I will see you tomorrow with day 2 of the stewardship mindset reset.